Welcome back to the Reality Guys. I'm your host, Billy Blinks, joined as always by my co-host, Brian.
Come on, everybody.
Joined today, special guest, cast member of Netflix's newest hit reality TV show, Million Dollar Secret. We are joined by former millionaire Philip Roundtree.
Former millionaire. That's hilarious.
I mean, you were
Word, what's
rich
happening?
at one point, man. You were rich.
Nah, I wasn't because it's not yours until, the IRS hit you up for it. You know what I'm saying? So they ain't hit me up, so I ain't get it.
We never really asked anybody. We good, solid confirmation here that was real cash in the briefcase.
You know, that's a good question. It definitely was real cash. It definitely was real money. Yeah, it didn't look like Monopoly money or anything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it looked real to me.
didn't
Was
go
it
out
like
and
100
count
on top and then like ones on the bottom or
it.
Uh, and that's the thing, right? That's how the camera play tricks on you, and yeah. so yeah, it could have very well have been it. I just saw the stacks and what have you. It could
Mm.
have been some, the Canadian dollar or whatever, you know what I mean? It could have been that. I would have no idea.
That is too funny. So obviously, getting the conversation started, we ask everybody this when they come on. Were you a reality TV guy before you applied for this show?
And that's the thing. I didn't even apply for this show, and I'm sure we might get into it
Yeah,
at
yeah.
some point. But am I real? I mean, nah. The only reality TV for me at this stage of the game is sports because it's from my perspective, sitting on the couch, a lot of it seems extremely scripted, and I was surprised by how unscripted this series was. But it's a competition series, so it seems like it would have been a more authentic, as opposed to your Real Housewives and all of that. But nah, I've been stopped watching. I think the last reality series I might have watched was, like For the Love of Ray J or like I Love New York. You know what I'm saying? Like something Real World Rover was challenge. That's probably outside of that. Once I got those, some 15 years ago, once I stopped watching them, it's been a wrap ever since. Like, I got a homie that was on Survivor, homie James here from Philly. Well, you know what? I do watch a show called Ready to Love. It's a dating show
Oh,
because
yep. We watch Ready to Love.
yeah,
I watched that
yeah,
show. I
yeah.
watched that show.
Yeah. So my homegirl Angie, she's on there now. And just based off social media, met a couple of the brothers who are on there. So but outside of that, I don't watch it.
That show's on like a weird hiatus right now. Like it just stopped airing and then it's like coming back in July or something. And I was like, what's up with this?
Yeah, and the cast didn't know either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is wild. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
No
have I have
announcement.
no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this has been a pretty good season.
It has. It has. Yeah, because the last few seasons, it just seems like a lot of your shows where folk want to go on there, they got their
Right.
brand, they're trying to get
Mhm.
a couple tens and hundreds of followers or something like that. But no, this one seems authentic. Maybe because I'm based in Philly, so I'm a little biased,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, so
And
kind of
so
weird.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
we know the spots, like some of the spots they're going to. So
okay, yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
right. So
Mhm.
so yeah, for me, it seems like a little bit more authentic than years past.
Yeah, can agree with that.
So
Where are you all based?
are you a Philly guy originally? So I'm from Philadelphia originally, and I live in South Jersey now. So I'm
Okay.
just curious, how did you end up in Philly?
Oh no, Philly born and raised. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
cool.
It's funny being on the show. Um, Even people who never knew me, right? Who didn't know me, he was like, "Yo, he seemed like he from Philly, just based off like my mannerisms and things like that."
The
So
accent,
yeah, Philly.
you can't fake some of it. No, no, you can't fake some of it.
Yeah,
Did
I'm
they
right here in
say
the Northeast Philly. So
did it say
Oh,
did you say
cool.
that on the show?
no, you know what? And that's one of the critiques that some of us have. It's just like, yo, our backgrounds
Yeah.
really
I've
weren't
said that.
explored in that way. But yeah, I know I talked about it, being from
Okay.
Philly, the work
I
that I
think we
do,
would have
et cetera,
talked
et
about it,
cetera.
bro. I think I
I
honestly,
think we would
Frank,
have
probably
too.
would have reached out to Phil way. We would have reached out way earlier if I knew he was literally a local guy. Like,
Yeah.
hey, come on
Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
Because we were talking to Chris, he's like, I mentioned I was from Jersey every time, and I was like, I don't remember seeing that at all.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we
yeah,
take
yeah.
notes.
They didn't really play up where people were from that standpoint.
They
Yeah, it's weird.
love talking about how many sisters you had. That's the important stuff.
Word.
So you talked about it. Obviously, you said you didn't apply for the show. You weren't looking to be cast. So how, interesting to hear about like your casting journey. How did you end up there?
Yeah, and so I made a TikTok about it recently because folk hit you up like, "Hey, I want to apply. What I want to apply." They don't say hello. They don't say what's up, how you doing, how are you feeling after not winning $1 million? Like, yo, I want to apply. I could do better than you. And I'm like, oh, word. Well,
We
yeah,
know
I
people like
don't
that.
exactly. And so I made this video and it was like back in what was it? What's this? 2025. So about May, June 2023. I was laying in bed. I was watching 90 Day Fiance. I guess that's reality TV. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
Love
yeah.
that show.
Yeah. So I watched 90 Day Fiance and I was just like, you know what? I'm sick of laying in bed alone. Now, let me see. I want to go on a dating show. And so I went on one of the casting sites for that cast for the shows like Ready to Love, etc. And I had applied for like two shows. One of them was a celebrity dating show. It was just like, hey, can you date a celebrity? Or would you date a celebrity? I'm like, yeah, I'm regular. You know what I mean? I don't really care about money in that way. It's just like, yo, can I have a healthy partnership with somebody? If they want to be in the spotlight, do all of that, I'm cool, you know? And so I applied and I thought nothing of it. Then a couple of days later, I got a text like, "Hey, we got your information. We would love to interview you." And I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" You know. So, I messaged them back like, "Hey, yeah, okay, sure, we could schedule something." And I ended up doing about three interviews with various casting folk from this company, and they were like, "Oh, you know what? We love you. We want to send you over the to the main production people for the people of the show. The show ended up being Queen's Court season 2, so it was like Delicious, K Michelle, and Lisa
Okay.
Ray. And so, but one of the things was they was like, all right, for now, for this one, we send you over, send your packet over, you gotta be like suited and booted because they love people like that. And I didn't watch season 1, but I know me. It's the reason why I haven't had a traditional full-time job in the last 15 years because I marched to the beat of my own drum. And so like I sent them pictures. I think I found like a Gap sweater in the basement that I had, and then got in my room, took a picture. But that was really that was it. So it wasn't the suited and booted that they were looking for. Because I wear sweatsuits for the most part every day, even when I teach. Even though my university I teach at, I hate it, but it's just like I'm gonna be me because that's the only thing I know how to be at this point. That's the only thing I'm willing to be at this point and I didn't get selected. So fast forward to about February of last year, somebody reached out again via text. It's like, hey Phil, you remember me? I was trying to cast you for the reality show, but I think I got a show that's great for you. And I'm like, well, all right, what is it? She's like, well, I can't, I don't really know. I can't really tell you. But if you're up to it, we can send your stuff over. So I was like, sure. And then this when the casting folk for $1 Million Secret reached out and interviewed with like multiple people on multiple occasions, and they just kept asking like, well, how do you feel about lying? Can you be deceptive? Would you do it for money and all of this? And I was just like, well, I'm not a liar, right? But I can be a strategic truth teller when the time presents itself, when need be. And so I rode that into the show. So it was not your traditional path of, hey, I see Survivor and I want to go apply to be on Survivor. No, I had already, chalked up that I wasn't going to be on reality TV or a dating show because I don't get dressed, and so to have this come around was was interesting.
What are you currently teaching?
So I'm a social work professor, so I'm on faculty at a HBCU and I teach social work courses. So that ranges, I teach undergrad and graduate school. So
Are
that
you,
ranges
is it
everything
a
from,
Dell State?
it is,
Nice.
right? It
Nice.
is, yeah. So I teach, research courses, human behavior courses, just a variety of courses that's under the umbrella of social work. So I've been doing that now for, since 2020.
That's really cool. Brian and I are UD grads.
Oh, word. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we're good. Dell, have you seen Coach Jackson yet? around campus?
I haven't. I haven't. The most I see is because I don't get to campus as often, and when I do, we're at the Wesley campus, so it's
Okay,
like
okay.
off, yeah, like downtown Dover. So, but no, I see. I guess he's there. I'm sure I'm going to have some of his students in my class, and I hope they ready. Because from the previous regime. No, like I run a pretty tight ship, in my classes, and so I don't really care, who you are or what you play or anything. Like, hey, especially in social work, because you're going to work with people in real life, and so,
Mhm.
um, yeah, this ain't no, hey, I'm just gonna get an easy A. Some folk come in thinking that's what I am, and then they see me, they figure out what my get down is, and realize they got to put in some effort because I care about the work that I do.
It's
Philip,
good.
well, go ahead, Ray.
No, I was just saying I mean, like you said, you march to the beat of your own drum. It's you don't want to like do something else for somebody else, so that's good.
Yeah.
So you're saying like just because you're saying like I don't give out easy A's, have you ever checked your rating on Glassdoor?
You know what? Not on Glassdoor, but rate my
Rate my
professor.
professor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I taught at Stockton in
Yep.
as an adjunct in Jersey, and yeah, folk were like scandalous, with their response, and so I'm like, I know me. And much
Mm.
like reality TV, like having folk in like my DMs and all that, it's like I'm not going these extra lengths. You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to do my work. I'm gonna keep it pushing. I never really filled out when we had to, do the surveys or the professor at the end of the semester. I didn't really do those, but apparently some people, feel that that's something that they want to do, and I don't begrudge them, right? But usually, what it is folk that have a grievance in some capacity, because most people,
Yeah.
when you do a good job, they're not going to come out and say, "Hey, you were an amazing professor and let me go and rate my professor." They like, no, I got my grade that I wanted and keep it pushing. So yeah, but no, that's like the comments on YouTube. You don't want to
Yeah.
go
Oh
as a
yeah.
professor, you don't want to go in there because it could be it's like a black hole.
You're never going to get the positive feedback loop in any form of comment section, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether you said it's student feedback, whether it's parent emails, right? You're not getting you get a great lecture today. Appreciate it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do we have to
Yeah.
finish this reading by next time? I want to talk about the game. We always we do this with everyone transitioning in, and this is usually our little leeway in. Obviously, Philip, unfortunately, you did not win the game. And we ask everyone who does not win their respective games, in your opinion, what went wrong for you?
What went wrong?
What went wrong, man?
It's one of those things. It's like a snowball effect because I know a lot of folk are like me voting for Lauren and not voting for Sydney when I was the millionaire and I had the power. That was the beginning of the end. No, I would say it goes back to me not winning that first challenge where I had to unlock the gate for to have the dog chase Sydney. For me, it starts there, right? That was like an aura of losing that I unlocked there, not the dog. But yeah, I think it started. I think it started there. Because who knows how things would have transpired if I would have won, if I would have won in the trophy room, if like so many different things would have taken place. I know for me and the way I was subsequently eliminated with the agenda, that was no matter what happened with Sydney and with Sydney and the Lauren vote, it didn't matter because I wasn't making it out of there alive with that challenge of having to make people scream, and then with the clue being what it was. So yeah, I think that's where ultimately that's where I went wrong. Like, and I don't necessarily know if I could have controlled that whole scream agenda. Um, I had to do it, otherwise I would have had some votes against me going into going into the elimination. So I had to do it. There was the challenge before where I had to try to get somebody to believe me or not believe me, whatever it was, didn't make sense to do because I knew it was either going to be Lauren or Sydney going home. So I was, for me, I was cool with that. But yeah, it was that challenge, man. That challenge, and a lot of folk on the internet have been like, "It's rigged. They didn't want you to win. They didn't want to see a black man prosper." What else I say? They just hated you because you ain't do the last challenge. The producers were, they were mad, and it was just like, nah, it was. An agenda that I completed. The clue wasn't. Um, it just wasn't in my favor.
Mhm.
It wasn't as discreet as it. I don't even know how to make that type of clue discreet. It was just one of them things, man. It's just one of them things. Like I think, I'm a firm believer in like, when it's your time, it's your time. So it's nothing I would have been able to do to have me stay, like, especially with that agenda. There was nothing I could do.
Mhm.
Literally nothing I can do. So
We've
yeah,
been
I guess go ahead.
we've been big advocates that the clues were too strong. The clues did everyone dirty. The clues, if you happened to do the thing that the clue was about, there was no shot. In the combination that your whole crew was they were willing to share all clues until the very end. Everything was getting put out onto the table. It was very tough. And I think, and Brian, I want to hear your thoughts too. I mean, I think I agree. The only thing you could have possibly done, you already said you could have possibly just not done it, right? And just taken your chances with those votes against you. And maybe somehow everyone else really thinks it's someone else. And that's like, really, though, I think overall, man, that Scream thing, that was the moment. That was just like, we felt so bad. We did our review. We're like, this is bullshit, man.
Yeah, I think you had two of the
You were
tougher
smart
ones.
because, like you mentioned again, like you chose to not do an agenda, and I was like, "Thank you." Like you don't have to do these things, people. Like this is not you're not forced. And so I think again, yeah, bad timing.
Yeah, and I gotta think you had two of the tougher ones. Like you said, Scream so obvious, and the other ones you had to convince people that you're like what was it? You had to convince people to not pick you, right? Isn't that or be against you? That's like
No, it
drawing
was
attention to yourself.
yeah, so I had to say something, I believe, and like, you believe me, right? And they either
Yeah.
had to be an affirmative or say, nah, I don't believe you. I
Hmm.
can't remember specifically what it was. But the prize for that, for doing that, the reward, it just didn't
Yeah.
matter.
Hmm.
Again, because and that was just uh a strategic move on my part because I saw what was happening with the tension with Sydney, with Lauren, and it was just like, no, one of them are going to go home. So I don't need to do this, bring attention. No, I was talkative when I was there, but of course, when they do the edits and things, it seems like I was a little bit more quieter. And I'm just naturally a quiet person anyway, so I'm not, I always sit and I always watch and observe some things. Um, and so yeah, with that one, it was just like, no, it didn't make sense when it came to even when it came to the vote, it just I know one of the things I said in the confessional was like, dang, I done screwed myself, right? Like I went feelings over facts and not voting out Sydney as opposed to
Mhm.
Lauren. But then in sitting, when I was watching it with it like everybody else, like y'all, I was like, wait, it really didn't matter ultimately,
Hmm.
based off they already had the clue from meeting with Peter about the people that didn't get chased by the dog, right? And then you had which would have still had Sydney in the mix. But even if I would have had Sydney go home, Lauren was already millionaire, right? And if she didn't tell people that she was the millionaire, then it could have been a possibility that she could have still been in the equation. But they're not going to give her the $1 million again. That's just bad television,
Hmm.
right? And so
Mhm.
even if we weren't thinking that at the time, and I may have thought about it then, where it was just like, yeah, it doesn't matter because they're not going to go back and give it to her again. So I'm still going to be one of like two or three people who they suspect have it. Um, and so that's why I was just like, yeah, I'm all right with my decision of having Lauren go home. Yeah, it made it like much clearer. But again, that even if I did somehow figure out a way to have Sydney go home, and I didn't do the next. And the next one was the Scream challenge. That still would have brought my tooth still would have fell out. I still would have been sad all day. And Sam's just like, hey, I'll be a screen partner. It's just like, all right, bet. And then it's just like, yeah, we going to scream. I couldn't foretell that it was going to be, hey, the movie with, I don't know who was in that. Was it Courtney Cox or something like David Arquette? Yeah, the movie with David Arquette in 1995 and the mask that people wear on Halloween. I didn't know that was going to be the clue. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Just the clues are tough. I mean, he had a losing hand.
and that's what it is. That's what it is.
I've been asking this the last couple of interviews, and I just like getting this honest reaction. Like, what's it like to get eliminated? I feel like in the moment and after now, thinking about it, going and watching back, what was it like?
Yeah, I was ready to go. Yeah, I
Really?
was ready to go home, man. Like, not even like even before that. Like I knew, see, I'm a different type of cat, man. Like winning $1 million would have been love. Like trust me, it
Yeah.
would have definitely been love. But for me, the time I had away, just being able to be, disconnected from the world and everything that was happening in the world. I'm a dad, but I didn't have to actively be a dad. I didn't have to like, yeah, I worried about my kids and not seeing them, right? But it was still like a little bit of relief because, as I don't know if any of you are fathers, right? But
We're
it's
both, yeah.
it's this okay word. So this pressure of being a father, um, being enough. You know what I mean,
Mhm.
this idea of like and I lean on my co-parents who where my kids are primarily with them, and so it's always that pressure of sadness of not being there every single day, seeing every move that they make. Then it's just like, okay, I'm out here. I had to get their permission to go because it was like, there's no way in hell I'm gonna go somewhere for however long and not have their blessing because they're doing the real work,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and caring for them. And so during that time period, I was able to release, I was able to recharge, I was able to connect with some dope individuals, and then it was like, yeah, I had fun playing this game, but it's like Monopoly. At some point, you get tired of Monopoly. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
yo, dang, nobody won yet, right? I don't think I've ever played a Monopoly game where somebody won. It's just like, all right, yeah, yeah, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
And so that's how I, and so that's how I felt there. Again, I love the experience. I wanted to stay around. Like I fought like hell at the end to try and stay. And I think if I would have stayed, it was like I think I needed that. I think the switch was flipped then, where I had to like fight for my life to stay. And then if I would have stayed, it would have been a much different me showing up. But yeah, part of it was, yeah, I want to win. I really want to win this $1 million. But part of it was just like, yo, I need to exhale. I made a post on social media about men don't, especially fathers, right? Like we'll work ourselves into, because my background is as a therapist anyway, right? Like we'll work ourselves into the grave. We'll sacrifice on behalf of our families. We'll do all these things. We won't take a vacation because we'll feel guilty about it, especially like a solo vacation and things like that. And so yeah, I had that opportunity. So for me, getting eliminated, and that's why I felt like, why were you crying? It was just like, you know what? I met a lot of dope people. They were able to see, the world was able to see that the bear, which was the character that I had, like that the bear has feelings, that the bear isn't this monstrosity, right? That people should be afraid of. And me being a big black bearded man, 6 foot, 240 pounds, people always, assume that I'm angry, right? Which folk again in my DMs about, why'd you treat Say Young like that? Oh, because they always assume I'm angry, that I'm violent in some capacity. And so for me, folk were able to see based off, I'm hugging everybody, right? Whether I knew what's happening in their lives or not. Like I'm just, and that's just me. And so for me, I was able to do those things and show this side of the bear, show this side, this humanity that men who look like me possess.
I think that's something cool about reality TV is you get to see other people that I guess some people aren't used to seeing. And also, this is like your little sub family now. Like you guys are bonded for life.
Yeah, yeah. We the first to do this, right?
Hmm.
It's no blueprint. So even if they come back with a season two of this, these folk will walk in having a little bit of an idea. We had no idea what we were doing. We were literally blindfolded, up until it was time for us to enter the mansion, right? And so we didn't have anything about how the game was going to be played. That's why you saw so many of us like doing different things and try to remember or try to figure out. And it's just like, yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. We were literally learning on the spot. And I think you saw the progression of how folks started to play the game
Yeah.
much better in the later episodes, because folk were comfortable in this space. They had an understanding
Right.
of what was happening.
Totally agree.
How active are you in the group chat?
I mean, just I mean the same active that I am in my in my homies group chat, right? Like not much. I like double tap some things here and there, see what folk are talking about. I've probably been more active within the last few weeks as opposed to like in the months prior. Because once I left, then you get in the group chat. It's just like, all right, I'm doing real life at this point, and so I wasn't checking in. But I think once we got the like, hey, all right, we got a release date, and I went in, and it was like, oh man, I done missed thousands of messages in the correspondence with folk. But yeah, that's just not my personality anyway. Like even my close homies, my one homie. Uh, they were going out last week. Mind you, I haven't seen them in like months, because I'm that friend where it's just like, yeah, yo, where y'all going? Hit me up. Let me know. I'm pulling up. You know what I mean? Then it's like, yo, where you at? Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm in the house, man. Like, I'm at that age. I just stay in the house, and so like, yeah, I'm not active in group chats all like that, unless like the night we got some games popping off, and so I'll hop in and talk trash about how Embiid not a Hall of Famer. How he's broken my heart. I want to be done with him, but that's that's really the extent. So now in our group chat. I'm not as active as others, but it's dope to still be connected in that way because it's like before we enter this space, enter the stag, we didn't know one another existed, right? And I think that's the beautiful thing about this life when we slow down. Like every day we see folk that we didn't know existed, and we get to share space with them. And so thankfully I was able to share space with 11 folk who are human beings, and so yeah, we got something that we can say we were the first of, so that's always dope.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. That's what I'm just saying. Like, I just think it's cool with you guys. You also had a good experience, I think, with like you're saying, like everybody in that group chat is cool. Everybody on the show is good. Like, you could have had a bad experience where there's somebody that is like kind of questionable. Because me, Bill, and I watch a lot of TV. There's a lot of questionable people on TV who are really pushing the boundaries. And I think your show, I thought was a good, like, everybody was different, but they all like bonded, and it was cool to just see different experiences.
What's
Yeah, yeah. I think that I mean I think if they want to change, right? Like I've never seen Big Brother or something like that, right? But
mhm.
I think they have like 24-hour cameras.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I think if you get 24-hour cameras and we had time like throughout the day, throughout the night to interact with each other in that way, I think you definitely would get, more like it'll definitely be like more conflict, possibly more romance, just all of the
Mhm.
things that folk tend to gravitate towards when it comes to reality TV. But because this is like competition based, that probably was hard to do in that regard. But I think that would definitely make it interesting, especially with this type of money that's on the line. If you have folk engaging more with one another, you start to learn mannerisms, you start to learn just people, and then you start to get into the feels of because you're around somebody long enough, you're gonna get fly with them,
Mhm.
potentially. So yeah, I think that would definitely be compelling.
I agree. Probably have to be live though. If
You
you
say
had
it
to do
again?
it. It'd have to be a live show. That's I think why Big Brother is one of the only ones that does it, is because it's like
Oh, Big
actually
Brother is
live.
live.
Yeah, it's live.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's why they have the
I've,
feeds. Yeah. So I
got
mean,
you,
I think
got
it'd
you.
be like you'd probably be interesting to watch it back, but then I just like I think the idea of the live feeds, like I mean, we're not huge Big Brother fans over here, but like the idea of it is cool. Like people, somebody's always watching, so they get the good information, and then people can like comment about it. Like not everyone's watching 24/7 because obviously people
Yeah,
are asleep. Like, you know what I mean? But like, I get what you're saying though. I think like we always said on our reviews, like we want to know more about you guys. Like, I think like 10 minutes of each episode would have been nice. To, like, know that you were actually from Philly. Like, we didn't know that. Like, we didn't,
Yeah.
why just give us more information about these people? Like, normally we get too much information about the people. And this is one of those shows. It's like, we do want more information about you guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I can see that. Because we definitely did it, right?
Hmm.
Where we, we had talked about where we're from, why we want to win the million, and go through all these things. But I guess that, they're trying to tell a story, and so
Yeah.
yeah, ideally you would know the backgrounds of the people, who's a part of this story. Um, Yeah, because that'll allow you to connect with folk a lot more.
Hmm.
Because people will become invested
Yep.
in the story of folks. So that's why, like when Sam talked about her, like navigating, like for her fertility, right? That resonated with a lot of folk.
Hmm.
And so to hear the stories of the different people, that's why like that moment was so powerful. Folk are like how you and Sid so close. They say, "Oh, you love Sid, you want to be with her." Like, nah, man. Like, we have moments where that's that were caught on camera but didn't make the final cut. And
Yeah.
so like where we have these authentic interactions, you learn about people, their families, their motivation, and that that bonds folk. So yeah, even if like have like the extras on the Netflix joint, right? Like the additional stuff where folk could
Yeah.
just go and watch like little 5 minute clips or so about the different contestants. Yeah, that put that in
It,
the.
they'll learn. It was the first season. I mean,
Mhm.
they're doing a lot more reality TV lately, so I think they're gonna have to start learning some of these things that
Yeah.
other networks have been doing. Like, I mean, Survivor's been going for 48 seasons, 47 seasons. Big Brother's like in the mid 20s. They'll pick it
Mhm.
up.
You
Yeah,
guys were a proof
yeah,
of concept. Um, Philip, I like to ask
facts.
everybody on the show, kind of in overall in summation, if someone's there to ask you about your experience, ask you about the show, what would you tell them?
Listen, it was a great experience, man. I can say that at first the location in Kelowna, Canada. Um, you know, it was such a beautiful spot, the stag and being by the water and you waking up and you're in this mansion, you're in this deluxe room and the golden showers. You know what I mean? Not in
Yeah.
the X video type of way, you know what I mean? But like you waking up to that and it's just like you on the lake and it's just it's beautiful, right? It's just a beautiful location. Then you get to the production, the production team and just cool folk, like they were all good people. They weren't, JOs and by any stretch of the imagination. They stayed out the way. It wasn't like I know we had like some interviews with psychologists beforehand, and he was just like, "Yeah, I go and I do this for reality shows and tell people just be you, right? Be you. You're playing you on TV, right?" And it was like sometimes they'll try to feed you stuff, right? They may try to get you to say, "Hey, this B is getting on my nerves." If that's not authentic to you, then don't say it, right? And I can say the production didn't attempt to feed me anything, right? Everything that came out was me. Um, when it comes to just the folk who y'all don't see, like Chef Scott, right, who made our food. I literally lost about 7, 8 pounds in in that span of like the time that I was there. And that's why I don't like fine dining. His food was amazing,
Yeah.
right? But it's like, myself and Cara, why we eating the same portion size? You know what I mean? So I lost like 7, 8 pounds, but he was cool. All the staff that was like waiting on us. That's different, man. Like for
Mhm.
me, I'm like, no, I don't want nobody to go do something for me. Like, let me go do it myself. Like, no, good, you're good. You're here. God, what you want me to go get you? You want me to go get you a soda? You want this, and that? And it was just amazing, man. These were dope people who don't get the spotlight because they weren't one of the contestants. They were just hired to help us, serve us, the care team, the people like homegirl Taylor who picked me up off the when I got off the plane, right? Like a dope personality. Yo, listen, I need an energy drink. Back when I was drinking them, yo, I got you. You know what I mean? Going to do this. So just from that standpoint, like the team, it was really like a team atmosphere. The people, all 11 of them people are solid folk, and so like I have nothing bad to say about anybody that was there. I think we all there wasn't any like me, despite what edits show and things like that,
Mhm.
nobody was like mean spirited there. It was just all love. We laughing, we dancing, we singing, and the trips to the different places, and like we just all connecting in that way. And then when it comes to like the actual gameplay, yeah, that was cool too. Had no idea what was happening. It was like a blur. Until I finally started to get settled in. Folk like you should be mad. You should be for what? Like it's a game, man. I
Mhm.
I can't. Like yeah, I wanted to stay. Yeah, do I think that clue was kind of you know whack for sure. But it's like they figuring it out too. I don't think there's anything personal against Phil. We want to see Phil out. Like you said, all right, this is the first iteration of it. So going forward, hopefully they'll you know do their polls. They'll reach out to us like, hey, what you like, what you didn't like. Definitely gonna be like, yo, them clues was whack. Especially that screen one. And then if they'll make the changes, but yeah, that experience, man. I know some folk. My homie he was on Married at First Sight. And it's like, oh, what's that experience? Like, oh man, it's just different, man. It's like, oh, because that's a lot. That's a different type of pressure. You know what I mean? With
Oh yeah.
this, we playing a game. We ain't getting married to somebody I never seen before.
Yeah, you're not changing your life.
So exactly, exactly, exactly.
Um, You have a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool interests. Even your work is really cool. Where can people find you, Philip, if they want to see more of what you got to offer and what's going on?
Oh, you can catch me on all the socials at Phil_Roundtree. One thing about me, man, I do not bite my tongue. I speak truth to power because they can't take nothing from me, right? Because that's why that's why I refuse to have like a real job, even though teaching's a real job. But if it ended tomorrow, I'll be all right as long as I'm standing on principle. So at Phil_Roundtree is where folk can find me. If you Google me, Dr. Philip Roundtree, like some things will come up, TED Talk, my websites, therapist, Black Media Nexus, which is a media company that I started recently with the help of folk who run the Philadelphia Inquirer. So yeah, so some different initiatives that I'm a part of. The You Good Man Men's Group, so weekly men's mental health group that I run here in the city for free. So yeah, I'm doing a bunch of different things, man. Hopefully, yeah, if somebody watching, man, 'cause I was having this conversation on Facebook, right? So I was watching. What game was I watching? Oh, was it the Nuggets game? Yeah, I think I was watching the Nuggets in one of them games, and it was just like I know that I can average 4 points in the NBA. At 41 years of age, I averaged 27 points per game at Bloomsburg University intramurals. And so
Okay.
if somebody wants to do some research and they want to find that stat line,
Facts.
um, do me that solid. I'll definitely compensate you with a high five. So
You think in the NBA? I think if you went over to China, you could probably get like double digits.
I feel like the intensity is different. Like regular season NBA, you got to get me like that mid-season lull where nobody
Oh
really
yeah, yeah.
care.
When there's a
Yeah,
couple
where
people
nobody's
hurt,
playing. Yeah, yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Not that you're a bench clearer, but you can come in, like you said, like crash the boards. People just jacking up threes these days, anyways. You can put something back.
Listen, if Shake Milton could be on the roster, I could be on the roster. don't get me started. Right? Don't get me started on these people.
It's a whole other
Yeah,
podcast. But
exactly, exactly.
Phil, we're gonna try to get a bunch of the cast back together, do a little pseudo reunion. So we definitely love to reach out to you and have you come back and chat with some of the crew if we can get you guys back together.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm down.
Cool. Cool.
Cool.
You can find Philip. Like I said, we're going to post a bunch of his stuff here on our episode description. Check out his socials, but you can find him obviously on Netflix, which is cool to say. On Million Dollar Secret. Check it out. The entire first season is there. You can also check out our playlist. We've done a bunch of cast interviews now. You can go check out our reviews of the individual weeks. And like I said, we are your one-stop shop for a Million Dollar Secret. Philip, again, thank you for your time, sir. Really an awesome conversation.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Until next time, for myself and Brian, thank you all so much for watching. Peace.